Hello, class. So today we're going to talk about the Fair Labor Standards Act. So what is the Fair Labor Standards Act? This act establishes minimum wage, overtime pay, hours worked, record keeping, and youth employment standards affecting employees in the private sector, as well as state and federal and local governments. This act also helps determine exempt versus non-exempt. For that, there are 5 primary tests, which are executive tests, administrative tests, creative professional tests, outside sales tests, and computer professional tests. So first, I kind of want to talk about the history behind this act. It was originally formed in 1938 under Roosevelt. At first, it was 40 hours per week. So anything above 40 hours, 44 hours per week was considered overtime. Later, it was revised to 40 hours per week. And back then, the minimum wage was 25 cents per hour and was increased to 40 cents per hour within 7 years. So where are we now? Today, Missouri minimum wage. The Missouri minimum wage is $10.30 as of January 1st. They plan to increase this by 85 cents until the year of 2023. Some loopholes behind paying this amount to employees. So if you work in the retail and service business and your company makes less than 500,000 per year, then you are not required to pay your employees $10.30, but you would be required to pay them the federal minimum wage standards, which is $7.25. So determining compensable hours. So what counts towards your 40 hours that you will get paid for, or hours that will be considered overtime. You are required to be on the premise, on duty, or at the workplace. You can also voluntarily continue to work after your shift to complete an assigned task and required work travel, meetings, training programs. So if a school is asking you to sit in on a program or a meeting or a training program that you would have to travel for, you would get paid for being at that program. And what doesn't count towards these hours would be meal break, which is usually lunch, when employees is relieved from all of its duties. So after your shift is over, if you were to decorate your classroom voluntarily, yes, it would be for your classroom and for your students, but those hours were not assigned, so they would not count towards your hours that you would get paid for. The school is also required to keep your full name, social security number, address, sex, occupation, hourly rate, overtime pay, and date of payments. And they're required to keep these for several years. So this is kind of important to know. So if you were needing your records, that you know that the school is required to have them. And if they don't have them, they're violating this act, which probably won't happen. And if you need those records, they will have that for you to look at. The Youth Employment Standards Act. So if you are 14 years old, you are not allowed to work with the exception of agricultural or entertainment. If you are 14 to 15, you do need a certificate to work. And public superintendents may revoke this certification. So say a teacher is noticing a student that they know has an after-school job and they are struggling in the classroom and they feel that it is not good for their educational purposes or for their health, the teacher can take that to the public superintendent and they may revoke that certification. This also goes under OSHA, which stands for Occupational Safety, Health, and Administration. This is important because if we have students that are working and they are allowed to work, it is important for us to inform them on their rights that they have and to know, so they know their minimum wage and they're not getting ripped off out of their hours and taken advantage of, because some workplaces surprisingly like to do that, knowing that the student might or the child might not know their rights. So as the teachers, I feel like it's really important for us to share those rights with our students. So why is this important? Because without this law, we wouldn't know the rights we have to this information of how much we are supposed to be getting paid, what hours are going to count towards us getting paid, and records keeping and youth employment standards. So without that, we really wouldn't know what our rights are behind our paychecks. And I feel that's very important. And that is all for the Fair Labor Standards Act. Thank you.